These sickos thought they'd finally found their perfect sacrifice. They wanted to break her, to use her life as a message to the world. But they just made a fatal mistake. Because they didn't realize. This girl's father isn't just coming for her. He's the world's deadliest monster. The story kicks off in the middle of a dense jungle where a couple, Lily and her boyfriend, are looking for a place to camp. They spot a sign that says, 1 mile, and assume it's the right path, so they head deeper into the trees. But they have no idea they've just made a fatal mistake. This path isn't leading them to a campsite, it's leading them straight into a nightmare. They find a quiet spot and start to relax, but the peace doesn't last long. Out of nowhere, a group of armed strangers surrounds them. Before they can even react, 2 men grab Lily from behind. Her boyfriend rushes in to save her, but one of the attackers fires a crossbow bolt right into his leg. He collapses in agony, and the group ruthlessly finishes him off before dragging a terrified Lily away into the shadows. We then shift gears to meet Alex, a young athlete focused on a soccer match with her friends. Watching from the sidelines are her parents, Danny and Jenny. This is a big moment for the family because Danny is a retired soldier who's finally home for good. After 10 years of being deployed and missing out on his daughter's life, Jenny is relieved to have him back. But the damage is already done. Alex is distant and clearly holds a grudge against her father for being gone so long. Now that high school is over, it's time for Alex to head off to college. It's a prestigious school, but it's a long haul from home, at least a full day's drive. Danny decides to turn the trip into a bonding experience, so they hit the road. While stopping for gas, Alex notices her father is carrying his sidearm. She hates the idea of him being on duty while they're together and insists he lock the gun in the car's safe. Danny has a gut feeling he might need it, but to keep the peace and win back a trust, he gives in and locks it away. As night falls, they decide it's too dangerous to keep driving, so they book a room at a local motel. The stop pays off because they actually start talking. For the first time in years, the wall between father and daughter is starting to crumble. They're finally getting back on the right track. Meanwhile, in a dark corner of the woods, we see a different kind of struggle. A strange community is gathered, waiting for a new life to enter the world. But the mood is grim. The baby is born stillborn, a tragedy that's apparently been happening to this group over and over again. They are desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. The next morning, Danny and Alex gear up to finish the trip. Alex mentions that she doesn't want to hold him back from his important work, still feeling like the military always came first. But when Danny finally looks her in the eye and tells her he's officially retired and never leaving again, her expression changes. She's genuinely happy. With the air cleared and their bond stronger than ever, they continue their journey, completely unaware of the horror waiting for them just down the road. As they continue their drive, Alex tries to call her mother, but the signal dies out as they push deeper into the dense forest. With evening approaching and the sun dipping below the trees, they decide to pull over and camp for the night. Danny sees it as the perfect chance to finally bond with his daughter. They spot that same 1 mile sign and follow the trail, eventually ending up at the exact same clearing where the couple was attacked earlier. It looks like a peaceful spot, so they set up camp and settle in. Inside the tent, Alex finally opens up. She shows Danny her artwork and confesses that she doesn't want to be a soccer star, she wants to be an artist. Instead of being the tough military dad, Danny surprises her, fully supporting her dream. To keep the fire going against the night chill, they head into the woods to gather firewood. But the silence of the forest is broken by a faint sound. Danny's elite training kicks in instantly, he knows they aren't alone. He senses someone watching them from the shadows. Danny tries to de-escalate, telling the hidden figure they don't any trouble and are happy to leave. But it's a trap. Suddenly, a group of armed men swarms from the trees. One of the thugs hijacks Danny's car and speeds off, while others grab Alex. They think they have an easy target, but they have no idea who they're dealing with. Danny unleashes his combat skills, dropping the attackers in seconds. He grabs Alex, and they sprint into the darkness of the forest. Hiding under the roots of a massive tree, Alex is terrified. She admits she was wrong and regrets making him lock his gun in the car. Without it, they're outgunned and hunted. Danny stays calm, promising her he'll get them out alive. They keep moving until they stumble upon a set of rusted train tracks cutting through the woods. With no map and no gear, Danny picks a direction and they press on. Deep in the woods, they find an abandoned RV. Danny wants to check it for a radio to call for help, but Alex is hesitant, fearing it's another trap. They watch the van from the brush for a long time, and when it seems clear, they move in. But as soon as they open the door, a dog begins barking frantically, alerting the inhabitants. A man lunges at Danny, but the veteran soldier shuts him down instantly. A second attacker joins the fight, and in the chaos, a third man grabs Alex and tries to drag her away. Danny goes into full warrior mode, taking on multiple enemies at once. He manages to break free, brutalizing his attackers, and uses the RV itself to pin one of the goons against a tree. Sensing more are coming, Danny grabs Alex and they disappear back into the forest. Word of the fight reaches a man named Angus. When he finds one of his men dead, his crew wants to retreat, but Angus refuses. He's humiliated and vengeful. He demands they hunt Danny down, no matter the cost, and orders them to report the situation to Stanley, the ruthless leader of their cult. The hunt is officially on. After escaping the chaos at the RV, Danny and Alex push deep into the wilderness. As the sun begins to set, they find a small, rocky overhang to use as shelter. It's not much, but it's better than being caught in the open during the night. They share the little food they have left, and the reality of the situation finally starts to sink in. Alex is terrified, asking the one question on both their minds. Who are these people, and why are they hunting us? Danny honestly doesn't have an answer. He's a soldier, used to dealing with clear enemies, but this feels different. Alex points out something even more chilling. They weren't trying to kill her, they were trying to take her. The mystery only deepens as they fall into an uneasy sleep, surrounded by the sounds of the forest. The next morning, the nightmare returns with a vengeance. Before they can even fully wake up, the sound of snapping branches alerts Danny. Out of nowhere, a man lunges from the brush, swinging a knife at Danny's throat. The two men grapple in a brutal, life-or-death struggle. The attacker is relentless, but Danny's combat instincts take over. In a final, desperate move, he turns the attacker's own blade against him, ending the fight for good. But there's no time to breathe. More men appear from the tree line, spotting Alex and charging toward her. Danny grabs her hand, and they sprint toward the river. They manage to cross the freezing water just ahead of the pack, but the goons are right on their heels. They run until they hit a dead end, a sheer drop into a roaring river. With crossbow bolts whistling past their heads, Danny realizes they only have one choice. He grabs Alex and they leap into the churning water below. They wash up on the shore, gasping for air, thinking they've finally lost their pursuers. But as they stand up, a shadow looms over them. It's Stanley, the leader of the cult, and he's holding a gun. Danny is an elite soldier, but even he can't outrun a bullet. Before he can move, he's struck down and brutally injured. Believing him to be finished, Stanley's men toss Danny's limp body back into the river like trash. They grab Alex, who can only scream in horror as her father disappears beneath the surface. Stanley's men made one huge mistake, though. They didn't check for a pulse. Danny isn't dead, he was just knocked unconscious by the blow to his head. The cold water shocks him back to life, and he drags himself onto the bank, battered but fueled by pure adrenaline. He finds their footprints in the mud and begins tracking them. He's going to get his daughter back, or die trying. Meanwhile, Alex is trapped in a small, locked room. A woman named Lily enters, bringing her food. We recognize Lily from the beginning of the story. She's been kept here as a prisoner, and she's now visibly pregnant. She tells Alex the grim truth. There is no escape. She's been forced to live as part of their family, and warns Alex that if she fights, things will only get worse. Alex isn't interested in joining a cult. When Stanley enters the room to give her a welcome home speech, Alex waits for the perfect moment. The second his guard is down, she lashes out, attacking him and sprinting out the door toward the forest. She runs until she reaches the edge of the woods, but she stops dead in her tracks. Stanley doesn't even bother sending men after her. He just stands there with a twisted smile because he knows the truth. They aren't in a forest anymore. They are on a remote island in the middle of the sea. There is nowhere to run, no way to call for help, and according to Stanley, no one is coming to save her. But he has no idea that the deadliest man he's ever met is already on his way. Stanley's men drag Alex back to their compound, but they've made a fatal error. They've left a trail for a man who specializes in finding people. The scene shifts to Danny, who has tracked the cult to a remote, weathered cabin. Inside, some of the goons are drinking and celebrating their catch, completely unaware that a ghost from the river has just arrived at their door. Danny moves like a shadow, slipping inside and dismantling the group with surgical precision. Within minutes, he has the survivors tied up, bruised, and broken. He isn't there to talk. He wants his daughter. He gives them one chance to tell him where she is, but when they stay silent, the soldier comes out. Danny switches to a more brutal interrogation method, and the room quickly turns into a house of pain. Terrified by Danny's cold efficiency, one young man finally cracks. It turns out, this is Jimmy, Stanley's own son. To save his skin, Jimmy spills the cult's dark secret. He explains that they live on a secluded island because they believe the outside world is polluted, causing their women to give birth to stillborn children. Their solution? Kidnap young women from the mainland to renew their bloodline. Hearing this sick plan, Danny's blood boils. He makes it clear to Jimmy, if a single hair on Alex's head is touched, the island and everyone on it will burn. Danny grabs the cult's radio and patches through to Stanley. The deal is simple. Alex's life for Jimmy's life. Stanley, desperate to save his son, agrees to the trade and promises to bring Alex back from the island. But Danny knows better than to trust a fanatic. While he waits, he turns the cabin into a death trap. He opens the gas valves, letting the fumes fill the air, and rigs the backroom as a fallout shelter. When Stanley arrives, he tries to play it smart. He hides his armed men in the woods and walks into the cabin alone, leading a blindfolded Alex. But Danny is ready. He's standing there with a blade pressed against Jimmy's throat. He warns Stanley that the room is filled with gas, one gunshot, and they all go up in flames. The tension is bone-chilling as they exchange the children. The moment Danny pulls the blindfold off Alex, she screams a warning, he brought his men. In that split second, Stanley lunges at Danny with a knife. As they struggle, Danny's blade finds its mark, plunging into Jimmy's chest. Stanley's son drops dead instantly. Fury erupts. Stanley's hidden gunmen storm the cabin, but Danny is one step ahead. He grabs Alex and dives into the backroom, slamming the reinforced door shut just as he strikes a match. The gas-filled cabin ignites in a massive, earth-shaking explosion. The blast levels the building, incinerating Stanley's men in an instant. Thanks to Danny's preparation, he and Alex emerge from the wreckage alive. They start to make their escape, but as the smoke clears, a dark silhouette moves among the debris. Stanley is still breathing, and now, he has nothing left to lose. We skip forward to a moment of peace. Alex has finally made it to her dream art college, and life seems to be getting back to normal. She says her goodbyes to her parents, promising to visit during the holidays, and Danny and Jenny head home, proud of the woman she's becoming. But in the shadows, the nightmare hasn't ended. Stanley is there, watching them from a distance, fueled by a cold, patient rage. Months pass, and the Christmas season arrives. Alex is excited to fly home to see her parents and is getting ready for a final holiday party with her new friends. Back home, Danny is buzzing with excitement. He calls her to confirm her flight details, and she tells him she'll see him at the airport soon. Everything feels perfect, until the party ends. Alex walks out and hops into a cab she booked, but the person behind the wheel isn't a driver. Meanwhile, Danny is pacing the airport terminal, waiting for his daughter to walk through the gates. Instead of seeing her face, his phone rings. It's Stanley. The cult leader's voice is like ice as he tells Danny that killing his son was the biggest mistake he ever made. He gives Danny a choice: surrender yourself to me, or your daughter dies. No police, no FBI, just a father coming to face his judgment. Danny returns home, and the news hits Jenny like a tidal wave. She's terrified, but Danny is already shifting back into soldier mode. He's not going there to surrender, he's going on a solo mission to tear that island apart. He looks Jenny in the eye and promises her he will bring Alex home. With nothing but his gear and his training, he heads back to the one place he hoped he'd never see again, the site of the old cabin. On the island, Alex wakes up trapped in that same familiar room. Lily enters again, but this time, she isn't pregnant, she's already given birth to her son. She's completely broken, telling Alex that she has accepted this place as her home and Alex should do the same. But Alex isn't giving up. She tells Lily that her father is coming, and he can save them both. Lily just shakes her head, she won't leave her child behind. Back at the shoreline, Danny reaches the dock where the cult keeps their boats. He pulls out his weapon, but instead of rushing in guns blazing, he plays it smart. He empties his gun and walks out into the open, surrendering himself to Stanley's guards. They mock him, take his empty weapon, and tie his hands before tossing him onto a boat to take him to the island. They think they've caught a broken man, But Danny is just getting closer to his target. Mid-transit, he makes his move. With a sudden burst of strength, he slips his restraints and unleashes a whirlwind of violence. He takes out the guards one by one, injuring them and leaving them incapacitated. He ties them up and hangs them from the side of the boat as a message. Now, he isn't just a prisoner being delivered, he's the captain of the ship, and he's heading straight for Stanley's front door. The scene shifts to Thomas, Lily's husband on the island. After Lily was captured, she was forced into a relationship with him, and their child is the first one in years to be born healthy and alive. On this island, every other pregnancy has ended in tragedy, so this baby is seen as a miracle. But there's a secret. The child isn't actually Thomas's. Lily was already pregnant when she was kidnapped, and Thomas has been lying to the cult to protect her. He's a good man trapped in a bad place, and he'll do anything to keep Lily and the baby safe. Lily knows she has to help Alex. While working, she manages to slip a secret note into Alex's room. After reading it, Alex knows exactly what to do. She grabs a spoon from her meal and begins screaming, pretending to be in agonizing pain. When a guard rushes in to check on her, she doesn't hesitate. She attacks him with everything she's got and sprints into the forest. This time, she isn't running blindly. Lily's note gave her a map. Meanwhile, Danny is approaching the island on the boat where he incapacitated the guards. But he's too smart to just sail right up to the dock. Before the boat hits the shore, he slips into the freezing water and swims the rest of the way. When the boat finally drifts to the pier with the guards tied up like trophies, Stanley realizes his prisoner has turned the tables. Danny is already on the island, and is hunting. Stanley's fury peaks when he discovers Alex is gone. He searches her room and finds Lily's letter, instantly realizing where Alex is heading. He dispatches Angus to intercept her at the docks. Deep in the brush, Alex is moving like a shadow, but Angus is a tracker. He spots her through the trees, and the race is over. Alex is caught and dragged back to the compound. Back at the main house, Stanley is livid. He confronts Lily about the letter, but she tries to play it off as a simple act of comfort. Thomas steps in to defend her, begging Stanley to let it go, but Stanley isn't in a merciful mood. He strikes Lily and warns Thomas to keep his woman in line, or he'll do it himself. When Angus returns with a captured Alex, Stanley drops the kind father act. He locks his gun in a cabinet right in front of her, a move Alex notes carefully, before forcing her into a room to change clothes. Locked away once more, Alex doesn't panic. She notices a loose floorboard and finds a heavy wooden stick. She begins frantically prying the nails out of the wood, fashioning a makeshift weapon. She's not just waiting to be saved anymore, she's preparing to fight. In the shadows outside, Danny has finally reached the heart of the compound. He's been watching from a distance, tracking exactly where they took his daughter. He moves through the perimeter, silently taking out guards one by one until he reaches the room where he saw a girl being held. He bursts through the door, ready to level anyone in his way, but stops dead. It's not Alex. It's Lily. She looks at the elite soldier and makes a desperate offer. I can save your daughter. Just get me out of here. Danny wastes no time, getting Lily out of the compound and into the safety of the trees. She points him toward the separate room where Alex is being held, but as Danny moves in to finish the job, his luck finally runs out. Angus and a group of armed guards ambush him. Instead of killing him on the spot, Angus decides to be cruel. He drags Danny into the room with Alex and locks them in together, wanting them to spend their final moments watching each other suffer. But Angus just made the biggest mistake of his life. He didn't realize that Alex had already spent her time prying the nails and floorboards loose. With Danny's strength and Alex's preparation, they break through her makeshift exit and vanish into the night. They regroup with Lily, but she stops them. She refuses to leave without her son. She tells Danny that Thomas is the key, he loves her, he's a good man, and he can get them the keys to the only boat off the island. They form a plan. Danny acts as a decoy, drawing the guards away with a series of distractions, while Alex and Lily slip back into the compound to find the baby. Lily finds Thomas and pleads with him to join them, telling him this cult is no place to raise a child. Thomas, seeing a chance for a real life, agrees. He tells them to head for the docks while he sneaks into the main cabin to steal the boat keys. The tension breaks when Stanley realizes the room is empty. He's beyond furious, but he has one final card to play. His voice crackles over the radio, chilling Danny to the bone. Somewhere along the way, the cult kidnapped Danny's wife, Jenny. Stanley steps out into the open, dragging a terrified Jenny with him. He gives Danny an ultimatum. Surrender now, or watch your wife die. Things go south fast. Thomas is caught red-handed trying to steal the keys and is dragged out in front of the community. He stands up to Stanley, finally speaking the truth that the family is a lie and Stanley is a monster. Without a second thought, Stanley pulls his trigger and guns Thomas down in cold blood. In the chaos, Alex has managed to slip into the room where Stanley keeps his weapon locker. She breaks the lock, but before she can grab a gun, one of the cult women corners her. However, when the woman sees Stanley murder Thomas, who was her own son, her loyalty snaps. Fueled by grief and revenge, she lets Alex go. Back in the clearing, Danny steps out of the shadows and drops his weapon, surrendering to save Jenny. Stanley stands over him, savoring the moment, ready to execute Danny to avenge his own son. But before he can pull the trigger, a shot rings out from the tree line. Alex emerges with a rifle, putting a bullet through the cult leader and ending his reign of terror for good. With Stanley dead, the cult's hold over the islanders shatters. The deadliest man has finally finished the mission. Danny gathers Jenny and Alex, leaving the island behind for a life where they'll never be separated again. And with that, the nightmare is finally over. That's the brutal reality of what happens when you mess with the wrong family. They thought he was just a retired soldier, but they quickly learned that some men are more dangerous when they have something to protect. If you loved this status flip, drop a like and subscribe to Flick Fast for more of the deadliest hero stories in cinema. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next one.